Thanks, Mona. And I'm glad you didn't read any of that bio, because the longer people read it, I sit there and I think, now, they know how old I am when they keep talking about all these things. Well, good morning. Happy Monday morning. I know it's hard to get up on a Monday and get going, especially after that horrible Bears game yesterday. Oh, it was hard to watch. But in any event, so I know people are probably in a bad mood, so I'm sorry about that. But I want to say many thanks to all the agencies represented here today, especially the Chicago Commission on Human Relations and Mona Noriega for putting together this summit to raise awareness of hate crimes. I also want to thank Angela Kuhn from my office. She's my liaison for hate crimes, and she's put a lot of work into planning on this particular summit. So thanks to all of you who are taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this summit and learn more about this very important issue. We have some interesting and informative breakout sessions to look forward to today. And you know, when we talk about hate crimes, you know, what is a hate crime? Simply, it's a criminal act motivated by hate or bias. And that hate or bias could be for race, it could be for gender, it could be for religious reasons. But you can never really perceive each individual hate crime as a crime against just one single victim. Whole communities are affected by hate crimes. All hate-motivated crimes cause fear, the anger, and the concern among the members of a vulnerable population and the general public. And these fears and feelings of intimidation may prevent members of a particular community from enjoying the rights and liberties promised to all. As your state's attorney, it's my role and the role of my office to use all available means to identify offenders and bring them to justice. We consider hate crimes to be an extremely serious crime, and there will be zero tolerance when a hate crime occurs. As prosecutors, one of the biggest problems that we face with hate crime prosecution is one of public education and involvement. That's why the summit is really an excellent opportunity for all of us to collaborate. Hate crimes often go unreported because victims fear reprisal or even public humiliation if they come forward to report the crime to authorities. That's why it's so important that all of us here today renew that commitment to this issue, and that we continue to work together to speak with a strong and united voice to help assure victims of hate crimes that they can trust the system. No matter their race, their creed, their religion, their gender, their sexual orientation, everyone in the community should have confidence that our criminal justice system can and will work for them. Now, one good thing I think that we see here in Chicago is that we don't frequently charge these cases. And I say that, you know, there might be some that Mona touched on that maybe they're not reported. But we have not seen an increase in hate crimes occurring here in the city. However, you know, we have to always be cognizant of what's happening around us, what's happening in other jurisdictions, in other states, what's happening in the world. And there is a rise of hate crimes out in Europe. And, you know, we have to be cognizant of what's going on out there because, you know, it could happen here. So we have to be ready for it. And while we have not seen an increase, there's always that potential. And we know we can see one act, one incident that can spark something, and we can see an increase. We haven't recently, which is a good thing. But we need to also remember that not every crime can be charged as a hate crime, and that's why it's important today that you go to the breakout sessions and realize exactly what the statute says and what we need to prove the hate crime. In some instances, the affected community may feel that the only way to secure justice in a particular case is that it be charged as a hate crime, and that may not always be the best legal approach. And I'm not going to go through the statute, but I am going to say you need to go to the breakout session, the Hate Crimes 101, which will be taught by Alan Spellberg, who is my supervisor of my appeals division. Alan is the law guy in my office. He knows this law backward and forward, and he will be going through the statute with you to show you exactly what's needed for us to actually prove a hate crime in court, and why sometimes crimes don't fit into the statute. My office takes hate crimes very seriously and addresses the issue in a number of ways. We have recently reconvened our Hate Crimes Council. We had a Hate Crimes Council in effect for years. It was headed by the late Howard Kaplan. With Howard's passing, we kind of were in limbo for a while, and I'm proud to say that Howard's son, Ben Kaplan, who's here today, has agreed to chair our Hate Crimes Advisory Council. So we are reconvening. We have some new members, some old members, but the important part is that we have the Hate Crimes Council in effect. In addition, I want to actually just note that the Anti-Defamation League has been a strong partner with us in our Hate Crimes Council from its inception, and they will continue to be involved, and I really appreciate the relationship that we have with them. So with our Hate Crimes Council, we want to maintain all the relationships that we have with law enforcement, with community service groups, and the community at large to raise awareness of hate crimes. We continuously train Chicago Police Department and other law enforcement agencies on hate crimes, how to recognize them, and what to look for when you have a fact pattern that may in fact be a hate crime. It's important to note that sometimes an officer may, in his first impression on a case, it may seem that it's just a simple battery or a simple assault. But the great process, though, that's in place with the Chicago Police Department is that through my assistant state's attorneys working with them and their Civil Rights Division, there's a whole process that goes through analyzing whether or not the facts of a particular case can rise to the level of a hate crime. So sometimes something may come into the system that's just a simple battery or assault, but once it gets looked at by the Civil Rights Division, by our assistant state's attorneys, then we upgrade it to a hate crime. But again, it's all about the training and making sure that the police department is trained to recognize the incidents. We also create and maintain community partnerships through outreach of our 4 community justice centers, which has helped our progress tremendously. My office also has a hate crime manual, which is an extremely important tool for law enforcement on all issues involving hate crimes. We must address the issue of hate crimes in multiple ways to raise awareness and educate the public. Hate crimes dehumanize their victims, but they also have the potential to incite our communities and destroy relationships, not only between our citizens, but also between law enforcement and the communities that we serve. And as we all know from experience, crimes of hatred can rise up at any time, and we must remain vigilant. And when I stated earlier we haven't charged a lot of hate crimes in the last several years, we did have one, unfortunately, just days ago. And this one occurred in the south suburbs to an elderly African-American woman who was simply doing her grocery shopping, in which she was attacked by someone at that grocery store, and she was stabbed. We charged that on the 10th of October. The incident occurred on the 10th of October, so it just occurred. So I can't go any deeper into the facts other than that because it's a new case in the system. But as you see, I think that is an example of how we never know when it can occur. And this woman was clearly just doing her grocery shopping and was stabbed in an aisle of a grocery store. And it was all because of her race. So that's the sad part of dealing with hate crimes, but clearly my goal is to make sure that all of our assistant state's attorneys are well aware and trained so they can recognize when the charge is appropriate, when it would fit, and when we can prove those elements. So the effective prosecution of hate crimes begins and ends in communities, and it's vital that we work together to build and maintain strong relationships within our communities. So with that, I just want to say we've got some great breakout sessions, some great speakers that you can learn a lot from, and I want to thank law enforcement that's in the room for the job that you do each and every day. I'm very proud to be a partner with you and all of our community members who are represented here today. And thanks again to Nora for putting this together. So have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.